following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Well, when you think about the two prestigious Italian racetracks, the tracks that come to mind are Monza and this one, Imola. Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari plays host to some fantastic multi-class action just after this. Don't go away. One of the most historic racetracks on the iRacing service, and of course, pretty much anywhere in the world outside of sim racing as well. The Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari Imola, as it's usually called, plays host to its first Formula One event in 1980. Nelson Piquet won that race, and just to bring you in here, Mr. Paul Smith with me, Connery Maddock, today here for this broadcast of Race Sport TV Friday Primetime. And Paul, this track has changed a vast amount since Nelson Piquet's first win, all the way back in 1980.
Yeah, it has a little bit of changes. Tamburello, of course, one of the famous corners that have been changed. You've got the added Villeneuve chicane as well. I remember the old sort of early 90s, late 80s, early 90s track. That was one of my favourites. But yeah, it is one of my favourite tracks in iRacing as well. So definitely, I'm looking forward to tonight's event with about a minute and a quarter left in qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. And Eric Andre currently provisional pole position in your prototype field at this moment in time. But the prototype field does seem rather thin because we have two bumper GT fields. We got 19 GTE machines and 12 GT3 machines to be getting on with right now. James King heading his way out of the final corner right now. He's actually run out of qualifying laps, just cycling it back through. I don't think anyone is in a good position to improve on their qualifying time right now. So grid is pretty much set here, Paul. And what are your expectations?
My expectations, well, I mean, I've seen a few events, multi-class events around this track, and it's always a bit of a funny one for multi-class racing. It's not the widest of tracks, but it's not the narrowest either. There are places to overtake, but that main section down the start and finish straight, where you can get that slipstream to work, that really does work well for these cars around here. So certainly, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for the drivers out there, but a great 45 minutes coming up.
Yep, exactly, as the time will tick over down to zero. So the qualifying grid is set here for your IMSA race at Imola for Race Sport TV Friday Primetime. This is how the grid looks. In your prototype field, it is Eric Andre taking pole position, and lining up right next to him on that front row is Fraser Williamson. Blake Neck and Kilm Salverson will make up row 2. Row 3 will consist of Cy Andra and James King. Then a car further down, you've got Julian Alvione, who unfortunately did not set himself a lap time. Then we bring things all the way back then to the start of the GTE field. Thibaut Kazubon, pole position in that particular field. Silvestri lining up right next to him. And guess what? It's future McLaren F1 driver Lando Norris starting P number 3. Antiola lines up next to him on that second row. Johan Half, Christian Koch brings things further down. Arthur LeHook and Scott Brazier solidly mid-pack in that GTE field. Jan Ruszkowski, Michele Ricci, Tammy Accioli, and Jan Senkowski brings things down to P number 19 overall. You've got Repoussard, Morrison, Stenny, Tim Graven, Kevin Siggy, Nespolino, and Sergio Macias rounding out that GTE field. And then further back, you've got your GT3 machines, Pure Racing teams, Maximilian Venig getting pole position. You've got Michael Evdoka there, P number 2 as well. Yannick Danish and Jorge Valls round out row number 2. James McRitchie and Wim Stockmans there bring things down to P number 6. P number 7, Martin Bumele. You've got Tazio Vasquez as well. Paul Morgan, Carlos Oliveira Pascual, and Valdemar Binder there further back. And then starting at the right at the back of your field will be Fabio Bartolai. So as that pace car will start to get itself underway at the front of the field, only a short run down towards the final couple of corners, and then we'll get this race started. As I said at the start of the broadcast, relatively small C7 Daytona Prototype field at the front of your field, so all of the action looks like it will mostly be in that huge, almost 20 car strong GTE field. Through the penultimate corner, they'll go up through the final corner as well. Not a lot of time for these classes to get themselves spaced out, and this one only a partial pace lap, but field will begin under the control of Eric Andre as that pace car pulls down on towards the pit lane, and Andre, he's off the way. We'll go green flag racing here in IMSA for Racesport TV Friday primetime. Almost jostling for position further back, though. Kilm Salverson getting himself 3 wide down the middle there for your prototypes as they hit the brakes then in towards the first corner. Salverson managing to recover P number 3 there side by side with Blake Neck, and Syandra will get himself involved as well for positions in the middle of your prototype field. Looking back though to your GT field, Kazubon leads the way still. There's Silvestri battling with Lando Norris up in towards the left, but Silvestri will manage to hold on to P number 2 just for now. The GT3 field snake their way through the first chicanes. Looking back to your GT3 machines though, Venig still leading the way from Evdoka. There's been a change for P number 3 though. Jorge Valls up into the podium positions.
And we've got a spinner already in your GTE field. It's Arthur LeHook has been around down at Villeneuve. We'll try and get a replay up here for you. And it's LeHook then, so into the Villeneuve chicane on the exit there, still pretty close. I think he's going to get a little bit of contact from behind. Yep, there it is. Around he goes into the gravel, doesn't hit the wall though.
Yeah, and Eric Andre has run into major issues. He's brought himself right from the front of that prototype field all the way to the back. Then let's try and find out exactly what has happened to Eric Andre. It's actually contact with Fraser Williamson down through Aqua Minerale. So as you'll see those cars head down the hill, down in towards the compression at the bottom of the hill there, and you'll see oh, that's no contact. Well, there is contact eventually there between the two cars, but Eric Andre lost it all on his own coming through the double right.
Yeah, he certainly did. It's so easy to do that as well, as we've got battling side by side, King and Williamson. So Williamson trying to recover after getting involved in that one with an Eric Andre, getting his teammate caught up there, but able to carry on as it were. So second place back again for Fraser Williamson, but we've got battling going on. Lando Norris has got a bit of a run in P3 in the GTE field.
Yeah, exactly. So the McLaren F1 driver, we can say that for certain, now right on the back of Vincenzo Silvestri up in towards Tosa. Has to try around the outside, but there's been an incident ahead, and Norris not able to avoid. The car stranded right in the middle of that of the racetrack there. I'll have to catch the name of the driver. I think it was the team. Yeah, he was. Kemal Salverson stranded right in the middle of the road. Lando Norris completely unsighted. Salverson on his own spins the car in the middle of Tosa, but Norris unable to avoid.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate there. That's, again, we're seeing with these prototypes will try and get a look from on board of Norris as well, because you watch how he comes around. You can't see. Prototype spun. They'll have maybe got a yellow flag. He comes around all of a sudden. Oh, where do I go? Bang! Into the side of that car.
Oh, there's been more dramas right in front of Lando Norris as well. Julian Albione, with number 33, having trouble coming up through the final chicane. Actually gets tagged around there by Johan Hart. So that is contact, race clutch on race clutch between two different classes. So having contact with your teammate, Paul, that one's got to hurt.
Yeah, you know, if there's one rule of motorsport, it's don't hit your teammate, and that's exactly what has happened there. We're getting on the replay here, so we'll get to some live action at some point. But yeah, it's all been happening. These prototypes, it's so easy because they've got no traction control, they've got no ABS, so it's really especially on cold tyres at the start of the races too. Everyone has been around now in the GTE field. It's all happening in the top two classes of this race here.
Yeah, the GT3s have been very, very quiet indeed as Graven's getting himself back off and away. You see the GT3 Pure Racing Team car behind him. That is going to be Maximilian Werning. So one part of the team that managed to win the ADAC Digital GT500 at the Sim Racing Expo LAN just last weekend. He'll head his way still in the race lead there for the GT3 field, already pulling a gap over Michael Evdoka. There we go, there's the front of your prototype field. That is going to be the Team Bushwing racing car of James King. Getting very, very close to the back of Blake next. So this is the battle for the final podium position here in your prototype field. And Eric Andre is not too far off the back of this one either as they head their way through the final corner. James King just dropping two tires in the gravel on the outside of the corner there, is still able to get a decent enough run down the pit straight, but here comes in Eric Andre then down the pit straight, completely just abusing the slipstream, tries to find a line on the inside there for Tamburello, goes deep on the brakes, manages to get that car stopped, manages to take the position, and James King, he's going to try to fight back through the S's, but he's just not able to. He just slides it through the second apex.
Yeah, I tell you what, Andre did a fantastic job there of getting that car stopped on the apex. Great job on the brakes from him. He's certainly feeling confident. We've got battling in your GTE field as well. Scott Brazier and Tammy Icole battling it out for 6th in class at the moment. And these two, they've got you've got the Anderson Tasky not that far behind them as well. And really, it's where do you look in this race? It's fantastic so far.
Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. As Janssen heads his way up towards Piratella, and then you drop all the way back down then towards Aqua Minerale, and it's just one of the most brilliant sections of this racetrack. You can take that first apex at quite a speed. Make sure you get it slowed down though for the second apex of Aqua Minerale, and you'll be very, very careful on the exit of that second apex actually, because if you do go onto that green stuff on the outside behind the curve, that does have the tendency to give you a 1x or a slowdown penalty here on the iRacing service, so you do have to be a little careful.
Certainly do. Side by side action further back as well. The exit of that chicane, Caliente Alta, and that was Johan Hart making his way past Tony Ramsden as Kim Salvson is, I believe, on the pit road. No, he's getting involved in this battle here. He's mixed in with the GTE cars. You look at the damage on the prototype car. He's going to struggle to pull away from these guys with damage.
Huge amount of damage as Wojciechowski, number 16, looking for the move on Tony Represar down in towards the Tamburello chicane as it is now. And of course, over the last couple of decades, as he'll get the exit off of the corner, but not good enough to make a challenge down in towards the Villeneuve chicane then. So that Ford GT ahead is not really the best pick for this sort of track when you have the high curves. Wojciechowski, he had a little bit of door open for him. Will follow very close to the back of that Ford then, coming up through Tosa. And then it's a matter of the power up the hill then towards Piratella. And Jan Wojciechowski looks for the inside Alta, you can just see by the body language of his car that he really wants to pounce at any moment's notice. Good run then coming down in towards Acqua Minerale, but still is not a place where you can really make those sorts of overtakes. So it's very close run thing right here for P number 16 overall.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 10th to 11th in class, going up the hill towards Variante Alta, and gets a bit of run. Does Wachowski out of that chicane? He's going to go alongside here, down the hill, and he's going to take that place up to 10th place in class. And that's a good move. Took advantage with his run a little bit wide through the exit there. Able to stay ahead though.
Exactly, and able to pull away on the exit of the corner as well. And it's not often that we get to see a Ford GT in these sorts of races. So Tony Represent definitely representing when it comes to the Ford, even though it might not be the best of choices at a track such as this one. But some of the prototypes still out of position. You've got Kiln Salverton, you've got Julian Albione as well. Out of position, battling for position inside your GT field. So this is just not the ideal start at all for them. Although you do have a close run battle right now at the top of your prototype field. This is Syandra versus Fraser Williamson, running very similar laps. Although Fraser Williamson did run about 0.3 of a second faster on that last lap. So the Team Bushfink Racing driver making some inroads at this stage. You can just see them hop over the curbs there at Variante Alta and down towards the final two Ravazzas. Then goes Syandra and Fraser Williamson. So this is definitely a battle to keep an eye on if it's going to close up as much as it has over the last couple of laps. But having a look, actually we'll stick with this one because Williamson completely made mincemeat out of those final two corners, and he's put himself in a very good position here. He might not be close enough down in towards turn number one, depending on how this draft turns out, but he's really put himself in a good position to challenge.
He has, and look at those last three laps then. 0.2 of a second, 0.3 faster as Wachowski has gone out of this race. He's had to retire, but we'll keep an eye on this lead battle in your prototype class, heading towards the Villeneuve chicane, through the left, through the right. These two on the edge of adhesion, really pushing. Fraser showing his nose.
Oof.
Not quite getting the job done, but a little bit squirrely was Andra on the exit of that corner, and he's going to be under attack now as they're heading up the hill.
Yep, he is up through the very fast left-hander then of Piratella. These prototypes absolutely love that corner. It's a very downforce-dependent corner, and these prototypes have quite a bit of it then. Down on towards Acqua Minerale, Fraser Williamson getting closer and closer and closer, and if you're Syandra, then you have to feel that Fraser Williamson's getting a little bit too big in your mirrors now, coming up towards Variante Alta as Williamson overcommits over that first curb. Going to lose about 1/10 of a second as a result of that one, but he's not going to drop all that far back here. We have had to change for position further back, though, for P number 3 in your prototype class. And Eric Andre has got himself past Blake Neck at some point earlier on this lap. So Eric Andre making a recovery drive of it after his instant on the first couple of laps of this event. But Fraser Williamson, Syandra head themselves across the line then to start lap number 8 of this race. We got 45 minutes to run. We've got about 33 minutes left of that time to run. Breaking down in towards Tamburello then. Fraser Williamson, he's got himself into sort of the bubble now in terms of how the aerodynamics affect the car. Even though these are not open wheel formula cars, the dirty air effect does exist in these prototypes, so maybe he's just his run is getting a little bit stalled out here behind your race leader. Yeah,
he's certainly starting to feel the effects. By the way, we've just paid attention to the battle in the GTA. Brazier and Nicole heading towards the first chicane. Hard braking, they're really close. You could almost throw a towel over the three of them. They're that close together, and these guys are showing great racing. Good run from Nicole out of that first chicane there in towards Villeneuve. Oh, it's not quite going to get the job done. Doesn't get the overlap and the cutback on the exit. Looks to the inside of Tosa. Not going to make the move for the time being. This has been a fantastic battle. It's just been going on and on in this race. I thought we just needed to look back at that one for a time being, but it has meant that Petit has made a little bit of a getaway from those two.
Ooh, we have a car off ahead. James McRitchie has run into a couple of issues there on the exit of Piratella, I believe that one is. So the driver with number 30, he just very slow coming up towards Piratella and then just completely went off into the gravel. I'm not exactly sure what his issue is. He's actually brought it back down on towards pit lane as well, taking the tow in that situation. So as things stand, Thibaut Kazubon currently leads that GTE field in a Ford GT, no less. So we have more than one Ford. We actually have, count 3 Fords currently in your GTE field, and one of them's leading the race. That's nice to see.
Yeah, well, Fraser Williamson locked up into turn 1. He was so close up, couldn't get it stopped. That's dropped him back a good few tenths of a second, so that battle's a little bit on the back burner. Interesting thing here is on the battle for second place in your GTE is within that same sort of gap as well. Blakenack hasn't been dropped by an Eric Andre, so he's still involved in this battle. Got to show a bit of love, by the way, to the GT3 class as well. We've hardly shown them in this race because there's been so much action going on in your prototype and GTE field, but you've got a battle for third place going on, and it's Jorge Pascal Blasco, sorry. He's in a battle against Yannick Danish, so that's third place battle ongoing, and he's got Wim Stockmans not that far behind as well.
Yeah, exactly. So these GT3 cars have been a little bit quiet at the start of this race, but hopefully they can give us some fun, some action out there on the circuit for the remaining 30 minutes that we have in scheduled stop for the entire field in this one. And then looking for P number 6 in GTE. This one's going to be Scott Brazier involved with Tammy Ackley here. Up in towards the Variante Alta, you've got Christian Koch right ahead of these guys, who had a horrible run coming through the chicane. Gives the opportunity then to the Bushfink racing car of Scott Brazier. He'll close in down towards the first Ravazza, but not going to be able to take any kind of move as Koch makes a huge mess of that first apex. Manages to recover, does stack up the cars behind just a little bit as they head out the final.
And not that far behind is Johan Harf as well, so he's trying to get involved in this one as they go across the line once again. Absolutely together on track. And as they head towards turn number 1, looking to the inside. And is this going to be the move finally for a curly? It goes across the curbs. They're banging doors. It's more output door banging there. They cut across the grass. They're still going, and here comes Johan Harf. Oh, the lights are flashing. He's not happy.
Not happy at all. Harth tries around the outside at Villeneuve. Comes the inside for the second apex, but a fantastic cut back there from the driver of the Ford, Tammy Ackley. Around the outside then he has to go around the uphill corner of Tosa. Brings things back to the rear. Bumper gets loose over the curb then. Does the number 14, and there we go. There's a prototype looking to get themselves involved as well. Battling actually for position in this one is Albione on the inside there in that C7 Daytona Prototype. But this has brought Jan Zenkowski back into this fight as well, down towards Acrominorale. You've also got Michele Ricci as well. So as a result of that battle, everyone behind is closed up.
Yeah, it's absolutely getting closed up. By the way, look at it close. Your lead battle in the prototypes back to 1.5 tenths, and they've got traffic ahead as well. So this is where we're going to see that traffic management coming into play. They're sliding through the first chicane there at Tamburello, heading towards the Villeneuve chicane. Sayandra and Fraser Williamson absolutely giving it hell for leather, and Eric Andre has been gaining on these drivers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Williamson dives it in towards the inside of Tosa, but it's well defended there from Sayandra. Lap traffic getting themselves involved as well. So this is the GTE field that they're trying to make their way through right now. Scott Brazier has come down on towards pit lane. That's going to be quite an early stop if that one is scheduled. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one as we keep our cameras on this particular battle right to the front of the field. Once again, GT3 is getting in the way of Syandra as Fraser Williamson so aggressive through the second apex of Aqua Minerale. I don't think he's going to sling one around the outside here up in towards the Variante Alta, but it gets a better entry than Syandra. You can see how close he is on exit. Syandra managing to get the traction off the corner though, but Williamson's driving absolutely insane right now.
Yeah, he's absolutely on it. I mean, he can pedal this Daytona Prototype, that's for sure, can Fraser. We've seen him in many series, seen him in the Neo Endurance Championship, I believe, as well, in Prototype. So he's a really good driver, and in fact, he's diving onto pit road along with an Eric Andre as well. So second and third from the Prototypes onto pit road.
Yeah, exactly. So the rest of them, from my perspective, will stay out as James King hits himself past the pit entry. He's not going to come in this time by. So pit stop cycle in full effect then for your prototype field. That will be opening relatively shortly for the rest of your classes then, since the prototypes usually are the cars that can't really go much, can't really go as long as these GT machines, as those two cars are still the only ones down on the lane at the moment, and they'll be heading off relatively shortly.
And Eric Andre 0.2 of a second faster in his pit stop. See how it goes across the white stripe. So 44.0 from cone to cone for Williamson, a 43.9. So Williamson gained a 10th on the actual pit road, but still absolutely even between the two of them as they come out of pit road into that GT traffic that really doesn't want to get involved in this one.
Yeah, exactly. They just want to get themselves out of the way and run their own race in this one, as Eric Andre is going to get trapped a little bit behind the Porsche here, as Koch will take the outside and Eric down towards the inside, gets that traffic over and done with, does overcut the corner a little bit there through the middle, taking off a little bit more than he can shoot with the lap traffic involved. As that's kind of mixed up the prototype field right now, so we'll only know exactly what's happening. Syandra's had a spin. Syandra's had a spin coming through the final couple of corners, so this is your race leader running into issues then. He's actually had contact with the GT3 machine down the inside of that little kink down the hill towards Ravassa. You've just seen it on your screens there, and whoa, that is a huge moment for Sandra.
That was a big moment for him. That's the understatement of the year. It did mean that he lost the lead from that one, but that is huge. We'll try and get another look at it here from a different angle, and just contact between the two of them. The other GT3 car goes off into the wall. So actually that GT3 car got a little bit worse off than Syandra there, but yeah, big drama heading down towards the end of the lap, and that means that Blake Neck, the driver from down under, I believe he is now in the lead of this race. But for how long? Because that will bring Fraser Williamson and Eric Andre right in to this battle once the pit stops happen for these guys.
Tell you what as well, Blake Neck setting the fastest lap time of anyone that last time by, so he sensed his opportunity to get himself further up the field then in this prototype class, hoping to challenge for those podium positions right at the end of the race. We're still waiting for him to come down on towards the lane. Same with Syandra, who had that massive moment just a couple of moments ago. When will these guys decide that pitting is a very good idea indeed, and then they can start trying to take the fight once again to Fraser Williamson? And Fraser Williamson, he hasn't really had the best of laps that last time out, since it was, of course, an out lap, as Blake Neck is at the moment. Oh, we've seen that, Paul.
That was change of underpants moment there. He almost sent it off one way, and then he sent it off the other way, but that's brought Syandra into this one now. He's in the slipstream. I don't know whether he'll be able to get on the brakes late enough. No, he won't. So Blake Neck holds onto that lead, but these two are slowing themselves down with these mistakes here. And that's just bringing Fraser Williamson and Eric Andre into this lead battle when these two finally make their pit stops.
Yeah, exactly. Looking back to where Williamson and Andre are right now, still quite a considerable gap between them, but they can easily jump these two guys right at the front of the field once they come down on source lane, depending on how the pit stop times work out. They tried to file themselves by Lando Norris there. Christian Koch has decided to head his way in down towards the lane for the GTE field. Michele Ricci as well deciding to head in. So this is the start of the pit stops then for your very, very big indeed GTE field. 3 cars deciding to head their way in as Barry Morrison joins them.
Yeah, so GTE's now making their pit stops. Let's bring the track map up here. It's not very often I get to use this little thing, but there you go. So Blakeneck, number 21, headed down towards the end of the lap. Number 24, Fraser Williamson, he's the leader car of the guys that have pitted. He's just coming in he's through Piratella down towards Acqua Minerale right now. So that's the gap on track between those cars, and you're going to be expecting. Well, Sayandra is heading onto pit road now.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a car dropping down the field, though. That is Michele Ricci as he heads off of pit lane, slots himself ahead of Win Stockman's there in the number 29. But Sayandra deciding to pit then, so. Oh, that was a horrible couple of last laps there for Sayandra with that instant, with the lap traffic that he's had. Could potentially be losing the race lead here to Fraser Williamson. Perhaps even more certain than that, as Williamson is only just heading his way through the final 2 corners now. Sayandra is going to be stationary on the pit lane for a little while longer as he finally gets himself off and away. There's Fraser Williamson down the pit straight then. Sayandra has to stay at 59, 60 kilometers an hour as he heads his way down towards turn number 1, or at least attempts to. And Eric Andre and Fraser Williamson have already made their way by, so that's Sayandra all the way down then into what is going to be effectively P number 3 once the rest of the prototypes come in.
Well, we say that we'll have to wait and see what Blakeneck does in this one as well. As Fraser Williamson bullying Silvestri out of the way there. Williamson's on a mission here. He wants to win this one. He's got a bit of damage on the front left there. There goes an Eric Andre right behind, past that GTE car as well. So we've seen this bit of mix-up. We've also got battling in the GTE field for 7th place, Arthur LeHook and Tony Repsard as well. They're battling away quite close, as I say, for 7th and 8th in class.
Yes, they are. And once again, it's a Ford involved in a battle, and it's with the Ferrari there of Arthur LeHook, and they'll be heading their way up towards Piratella then, as that is going to be at least one of the corners around this racetrack where the Ford GT is going to be very good indeed. Very fantastic car around the high-speed corners, but when it comes to curbs, when it comes to slow-speed sections, that Ford is just going to be lacking somewhat compared to the other GTE machines. But Repusant doing pretty well so far, getting himself onto the back of the Ferrari, although the Ferrari does have a little bit of damage to it, especially to that front left and rear left.
Yeah, as Kim Salton now comes up to pit road for his pit stop. As we keep an eye on that GT battle, it's just separated a little bit. So that better run through the Variante Alta means that Repsard just has to hang back for the time being, be patient, and maybe use the strategy, because these two haven't made their pit stop. Lando Norris on pit road at the moment, the latest of the GTE cars to make their pit stop here. GT3's the leaders still haven't made their pit stops, but a couple of the cars further down have made their pit stops as well.
Yeah, exactly. These pit windows, shall I say, are very, very wide indeed. But let's just bring the discussion then back to the World Championship Series. So the World Championship Grand Prix Series then, that one is getting very, very close indeed. Martin Kroenke currently leads the way with five wins, 8 top 5, 6 pole positions, and he's on 747 points. But his teammate Mitchell de Jong not too far behind at all. He's on that 728 points with 2 wins to his name. Gregor Hutu is going to be a little bit too far off in terms of that one, but you'll definitely want to tune in then to the World Championship Grand Prix Series for the final couple of rounds, because that one is going to be one of the most competitive ones that we've had in recent years.
And just as he finished that promo, Yannick Danish, who hasn't made a pit stop yet, has had a spin. It's on the exit of Tamburello. We'll see it on replay here. he heads around there. He's going to flip the curve, get on the AstroTurf is heavily into the tyre wall there for Yannick, so not the best of times for him in that one. That's a monster impact that he's had, and he's going to have to crawl that back to the pits, you would imagine, as a couple more GTEs onto pit road as well. That is Kazavan and Ahola on pit road as we speak. They're pulling away. Blake Neck, though, still staying out in this race, so he's not deciding to come into pit road yet.
No, as I said before, I went on the WCS promo, which is at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow, just in case you missed that bit of information. But yeah, Blake Neck going very, very close to the end of the stint here, well, with about 17 minutes remaining.
Yeah, as hopefully you'll be able to fix your little microphone issue. Right, race leader onto pit road, Blake Neck. He's making his decision to make the move down onto pit road. James King onto pit road as well. Where is Fraser Williamson? He's exited Variante Alta, he's heading down the hill. He was about 35-36 seconds behind your race leader just then as they came onto pit road, and Williamson all over the curbs there. He wants this win. Blake Neck still on pit road, still waiting. It's a long pit stop for Neck. Here comes Williamson then. He's coming across. He's going to take that lead back, and Neck is still on pit road because James King now has pulled away as Silvestri from the leader GTE pulls into pit road.
That's a very long stop, actually approaching 30 seconds on the lane for Blake Neck. He does have a large amount of damage to that front end, but I think this is going to be much, much more than just a front clip change here for the 21.
Yeah, that's got substantial damage there, and he's just sitting there patiently. He's seen this opportunity just ebb away, but it does mean that we've got a fantastic battle up the front there. Williamson versus Andre. Only about a second and a quarter between the two of them. You battle for your lead as we're still waiting for the last two GTEs. We've got a bit of a pit party for the GTEs, by the way. Quite a lot of them on pit road. They're all coming out now as Lando Norris and a few of the others coming through.
Alola. Oh, Antiola side by side with Norris down in towards the first turn, and that's Antiola successfully, or at least for now, defending against the up-and-coming Formula 1 drivers. Norris will get the run off the corner then, off of Tamburello. He's going to bring it, trading paint then down in towards Villeneuve, as close as you'd like there, as Lando Norris again will go for the up-and-under move, has to complete the move around the outside at Tosa, or is he going to go up and under once again? He is as well, is the young driver as he heads it side by side up towards Piratella. They almost trade paint again on those doors. Look at how close they're getting up in towards Piratella. Fantastic stuff. No, just a millimeter of room given between the two cars, and Norris is through. Wow.
Forget Formula 1. Get that guy in a touring car. He'd go far in that, that's for sure. Brilliant stuff. Really getting little hip checks and rubbing, and able to get ahead there for Norris. That was really good racing between the two of them, though, to keep it both on track. So well done, not just to Norris, but also to Ahola as well. Battle at the front, by the way, has closed down now. It's 0.7 of a second, 0.2 of a second faster was an Eric Andre on that. That's I believe on the. Oh no, it wasn't. That's Fraser Williamson. In fact, didn't set a lap time in that last lap, so obviously had a few too many excursions off the track, shall we say.
I guess you could say that, but it hasn't dropped him back too much, so no slowdown penalty in effect. It's just a little bit of a glitch with the timing there, as the rest of your GTE field will actually complete their pit stops, as Arthur LeHook and Kevin Siggy have both completed their stops. They're going to come off of the lane in the not too distant future. Where they'll come out is a different issue, as you see the rest of the mid-pack, the GTE stream by on the pit straight down towards turn number 1. Then is actually further forward down in turn number 1 actually is Tammy Ackley getting himself past a couple of the GT cars there and actually putting a car between him and Johan Harth, but Harth will get himself past pretty quickly, as right now, as all of the pit stops are done for all 3 classes, now seems just about right to go through your top 8 in each class. And it's well, for prototypes. Fraser Williamson leads the way, and Eric Andre only half a second behind, and that's going to be closer as they head their way in towards turn number 1. Syandra and James King will bring things down to P number 4. Julian Alvione, Blake Neck, and Kilm Salverson. Unfortunately, that latter driver there has been retired from this race. Then looking at your GTE field, Thibaut Kazubon leading the way there. Silvestri and Lando Norris will round out your podium positions as it stands. Antia Hola there back in P number 4. P number 5, LeHook. P number 6, Siggy. P number 7, Ackley. And P number 8 will go to Johan Harv. And then the very, very quiet, at least so far in this event, GT3 field. Maximilian Werning got himself pole position, got himself away at the front, hasn't really looked back since then. Michael Evdoka, Jorge Valls, and Wim Stockmans will bring things down to P number 4. P number 5, Yannick Danish, after issues a little bit earlier on. P number, further down, you've got Martin Brimele there in P number 6. P number 7 is Bartolai, and P number 8 will be Waldemar Binder there, as he's actually getting himself in a bit of a 3-wide battle with some GTE machines heading their way down the pit straight. The GTE battle is for position as Nespolino versus Morrison then, the 19 versus the 15. Morrison looking for the inside then in towards Tamburello. Will decide to back out of that one, but carries good momentum through those apexes.
And you could see on the monitor on the dashboard just how close Morrison was getting to the back of Nespolino. So definitely menacing in the mirrors and in that screen of that GTE car, and doing a good job putting the pressure on, but both of them keeping the cars on track and keeping pushing as they're heading up the hill. We've only got 11 minutes remaining in this race as you battle for your lead. It's getting a bit close once again in this one, just half a second between the two of them. They have been sort of trading lap times, and that last lap Fraser Williamson was only just a little bit quicker, just under a tenth of a second quicker.
A lot of this one, I think, is going to be decided on how the traffic falls, because they've got a bit of lap traffic ahead of them right now. We've got GTE machines, actually 3 GTE machines further down the road just by a couple of seconds, so they'll be catching up to those in not too distant future. But if they catch them on the pit straight, then it's not going to be too many issues for these prototypes to make their way by. But there's so many places on this track where if you get caught behind the slow speed traffic, then it's really, really going to hurt your overall lap times if you're in one of these faster classes. But it looks like these guys might be in all right position here. Your leading 2 prototypes heading down towards the penultimate corner. Then there's Fraser Williamson, and those 2 cars ahead are actually battling for position in your GTE class. So I don't think they'll be very, very willing to give way unless it's down at the end of this pit straight. Maybe one of them, Tim Braver notably, can just duck out and get the slipstream off of one of the prototypes to bring himself alongside the Ferrari that he's going to be battling with, but decides against it, lets Williamson through, and Eric Andre will also make it side by side with the lap traffic down in towards turn number 1, and he gets a little bit greedy there, doesn't Eric Andre bring himself right up to the back.
Yeah, he does, and I'll tell you what, that was a little bit too close for comfort, was that, as that battle's still going on behind in the GT field. But and Eric Andre, he knew how important it was to stay with Williamson there, took it down the inside, pushed it to the limit, and was lucky to get away with that, because that could have been a bit of an accident, that one. But everybody staying on track and keeping it going in this one. Everything sort of just calmed down a little bit in your GT field, although look at the top 4. There's only about 3 seconds covering the top 4 at the moment.
Yeah, exactly, and well, those 2 cars right at the back of that top 4, those are the faster cars of the 4, so this one has the potential to get very, very interesting indeed. Battle for all 3 podium positions then in your GTE field for the end of this race. They've got about 7 laps to go with 8 minutes 45 seconds remaining in this one, and can I ask you a question, Paul?
Oh, that's dangerous, but go ahead.
Can you get wildered by me in your audio interface?
You'll have to ask Will, but it's a good job you didn't ask me, because I'm a Yorkshireman and I'm tight with money. So just look at those laps between Kazabon and Silvestri. Last 2 laps, 0.3 of a second we'll call it, and 0.3 of a second faster was Silvestri. Then you look at between Silvestri and Norris has been a tenth of a second faster those last 3 laps as well. Looking at Norris, Antiohola, well, we saw them two have that battle, that epic battle. Ahola's actually been about 0.07 faster on that last lap, so not much covering these guys. They're all getting a little bit closer and closer, and once again getting closer and closer, and Eric Andre getting to the back of Fraser Williamson, but not able to make any moves.
Yet more lap traffic going to come in play in the future for both Williamson and Andre. As further down the road, they got Bato Ali, you've got Brimilli, you've got Jason Stenny further down the road as well. And you know, any one of those cars can just be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but that's not needed because Fraser Williamson's just completely overcooked Acqua Minerale.
Yep, he certainly has. And he went off there. We'll get a replay of that from on board with Fraser Williamson then into Acqua Minerale. Clips that first curb, gets it wide onto the grass. He can't get it stopped. And there goes an Eric Andre down to second place for Fraser Williamson. I was hearing contact down at the Acqua Minerale as well after that happened. I couldn't see who it was involving. So definitely a lot of incidents happened afterwards. Off there.
Ooh, and actually, I haven't actually spotted it. I thought I did, but I have not. As I'm currently looking at the front of your GTE field, and these are the 4 cars that are, well, within a second of each other. Of course, overall, it's a little bit larger than that, as they'll get disposed of the GTE machine, Yannick Danish, on the outside there of Piratella, but. Right now, this is basically going to be the flashpoint. If we're going to have any sort of grandstand finish, then this GTE field has the potential to be a huge, to have a huge amount of fireworks at the end of this race if that prototype battle doesn't get itself close together once again. But Lando Norris, he might even start this now as he gets right onto the back of Silvestri.
He's going for it, Silvestri. Looking, Norris not quite able to do it. Late on the brakes. How does he do that? You see, I can't do that sort of thing. How do these top drivers get the car stopped on the apex with a brake that late? But Norris is through. They have dropped back about a second and a half off of Kosovan. They've got 5.5 minutes remaining in this race, so it's still on for the lead of this one. But this battle for second place in your GT field is not over yet.
Silvestri and Hola still trying to dice it behind Norris, but Norris has overcooked the first curb. Here comes Silvestri then all the way through the apex, but he's not able to, as Antiohola deciding now is a good time to pounce then on the run down towards the Villeneuve chicane. He'll have the inside for the first part, turns towards the inside for the second as well. So that position gains there from Antiohola, as that was such a scary moment for Norris there, as he made a mess of that first apex. Just gave a glimmer of hope to the cars behind.
Yeah, he needs to improve a little bit, does that Norris? Get a bit of consistency in his driving. As Scott Brazier and Arthur Hook, they've been swapping positions, I believe, as well. They're battling over 8th and 9th in class going into Tosa. Not able to switch positions at that point, but we've got some interesting battles in your GTE field still going on towards the end of this race. And Fraser Williamson, look at how close he is to the back of an Eric Andre. This one is not over yet.
It is certainly not over with under 5 minutes to go, giving more like 4 minutes then as they head their way through Piratella. And as has been constant through about the second half of this race, those GT machines can spell doom for these prototypes, as Williamson, he just gained so much of his time there coming through Acqua Minerale, and we have seen on previous occasions that he has overcooked the move coming down into there, onto the brakes end, a little bit more tentative then for Fraser up through these apexes, carries good momentum though through the middle of the chicane. But Andre, he's still going to be a little bit scared in this sort of situation. Maybe his saving grace is going to be that lap traffic. Just put a few GT cars between himself and Williamson, and he can feel a little bit safer.
I think Williamson had to just get out the throttle coming through Variante Alta just to not end up in the rear of an Andre. That's how well an Eric Andre even. As we go across the start finish line once again. 3 minutes as well. 15 left in this one. It's still not over. And this battle for your lead in Prototype. Look at that bouncing over the curve there for Fraser. He's pushing it to the limit here. He wants that win. It's win it or bin it for him, it appears. And he's giving it everything here, come on.
Don't talk about Williamson and binning it in broadcasted races, but here's his chance, 3 wide with the GT car on the outside, down the inside for the race lead. Williamson, a little bit of contact in the middle of the corner, but Williamson manages to come away with it, although there was a little bit of barging there through the corner.
I tell you what, hats off. You see an opportunity.
Got behind. That's Despolino.
Yep, has gone round. We'll bring it back to that battle for the lead, though. We'll bring a replay up in a second of that overtake. Williamson's lost control.
Oh no! Oh, they've made contact as he's come back on track as well. So this one will continue for the final 2 minutes of this race here at Imola. Racesport TV Friday primetime doing what it does best then. Fraser Williamson tucked in the slipstream down towards this run, down the hill towards the penultimate corner. Is he going to sling it down the inside? No, he's going to choose the normal line coming through the entries to the corner. Looks to get a good exit, but no. Andre has it parked on the curb through the final corner then. We're going to have 2 laps to go once these guys head their way across the line, and it's on a knife edge.
It certainly is. This is cracking to watch. Great stuff. Great multi-class racing between the two of them, and you're not missing much further down. Those battles further down in your GT field have just sort of quietened down a little bit. Williamson, though, all over the back. Look at this squirreling. That rear end gets a good run out of that first chicane, heading towards Villeneuve. And I tell you what, Connery, this is going to be absolutely everything here.
Oh, he's clipped the grass there coming through the Villeneuve chicane. That might give Andre a little bit of breathing room despite what it looks like right now with Williamson right up underneath his rear diffuser coming up through Tosa. Michele Ricci in that GTE machine will know how important this battle is and hopefully get himself well out of the way by the time Acqua Minerale arrives, as down towards that double right they will go. Andre, he's been so consistent through here, needs to do it just to, well, now he only has to do it one more time next time by, and he might be on for the race win here, but don't rule out Fraser Williamson at all. He's already had to make this pass, what, twice? 3 times on Eric Andre, and he's managed to be successful, but he hasn't managed to hold it so far, and he's actually lost time there coming through the Variante Alta. So Andre managing to pull about a half a second then into the penultimate corner. Bits of lap traffic ahead that could get involved on the final lap of this event. Decent run through the final corner for Williamson, but not as good as in Eric Andre. There's still a battle for P number 2 in GTE that we have to be concerned about. That's Lando Norris versus Antti Ahola. So that one could be a fight at the end of this event as well. And Andre across the line, he had about 5/10 of a second the gap across the line. That could well be enough. Williamson needs an absolute monster of a lap. You get to see how much he's pushing on the exit of Tamburello there, and he's going to lose a little bit more time as a result of that when he closes up then through Villeneuve. But look at how much lap traffic is ahead of these 2 leading prototypes up through Tosa now as the pressure starts to build on Eric Andre's shoulders. He just needs to get himself scythed through this traffic okay, and then he'll be taking the checkered flag to win this event. Inside the lap traffic up through Piratella, so close with Scott Brazier. Brazier, of course, the teammate of Fraser Williamson, so he didn't want to give much space there to your overall race leader. Looking back to Antiola, Lando Norris, that gap is still about a couple of tenths of a second as Ahola will go deep on the brakes as Norris tries to deal with the lap traffic. But up through Variante Alta then come your race leaders, so close. Only a couple of tenths of a second between them, and a huge amount of traffic ahead as well down towards the final couple of corners. White flag is out there, checkered flag this time by, and actually Antiola is out. We'll have to cycle that one back once we get to it, once we get to the end of the race. Williamson needs a monster run out the final corner. He may need the draft pass across the line, get squirrely over the curb, and I think that's going to be it. Williamson has nothing, and Eric Andre wins for Race Clutch. Oh my word, what a fantastic race at the end there. We've got the GTE battles and the and the GT3 race winner to come across the line in just a couple of moments time. Maximilian Wenig is going to do that one first for the GTE field, but what a race at the front of the prototypes. Wenig, he's been absolutely dominant in his particular class though. No dramas at all for him. Complete opposite situation to what we saw in the prototype. So he'll head his way down towards the penultimate corner, and only these two to go then, and he can head his way across the line to take yet another race win for Pure Racing Team. Here comes Maximilian Wenig. Absolutely no problem. Race wins just come naturally to both Maxes as part of Pure Racing Team. And Thibaut Kazubon here, well, he's just got a bit of that traffic to deal with and two more corners, and he'll come across the line to win in a Ford GTE as well. Just got to be a bit careful. He's messed up through the penultimate corner, and fortunately for him, Norris is a little bit too far behind the challenge as a result of a mistake like that. But Kazubon, race win for Ford GT as well. Absolutely fantastic race here at Imola, Paul.
Wow, what a breathless end to that race. Absolutely fantastic. Great call there, Connery, from yourself at the end there. That was superb to watch. I want to try and look, if I can, at what happened with Ahola, Nancy Ahola on the final lap then. In fact, it wasn't the final lap, was it? It was the lap before that. And so here we go. Hopefully we'll find out what happened to him. I have a funny feeling that he might have just run out of the instant limit. We've got it up on replay, so we'll have a look at this one here as they come through the first chicane there. Pretty close together between Norris and Ahola there. And heading towards Villeneuve now. That's second chicane. Left and right. Heading towards Tosa. Gets onto the gravel. Still there, still running into Tosa there. Round that corner it goes. So far, so good for Antic as he heads up the hill towards Piratella. And really, nothing happening. So I just wonder, as I think, it was either a technical problem or it was an instant limit that he's hit and he's got disqualified. We're still sticking with it because I'm determined to find out what has happened to him as well, he heads up towards Variante Alta, so it's going to be near the end of the lap here. Across the curbs he goes, quite aggressive across the curbs, does fine there. Well, it's going to be down towards the final corners here, Connery.
Is it? Let's have a look.
Talk amongst yourselves, Kate, everyone. Here we go, then, into the final corners here. Oh, there's a bit of GT3 traffic involved in this one. Is this going to be it? There's the contact. Oh, and that's it, out the race.
DQ'd off of that. Wow, that is a close run thing with the instant limit. To have it taken away from you through the final corner. Oh my word, there's no worse way to end a race there, as we will go through your official race results now. And Eric Andre, what a race at the front of the prototype field. Takes the race win by 0.262 seconds. Syandra, P number 3. Oh, what could have been for him as well if he was further up the field and didn't have his issues. James King, P number 4. Julian Albione, you've got Blake Neck, you've got Kim Salverson, rounding out your 7-car prototype field. Looking back to GT3s then, you got Thibaut Kazubon, 2 seconds advantage over Lando Norris, and what an event for Norris there, getting those passes done, and just see how aggressive he is as a driver as well. There's a reason why he has a Formula 1 seat next season, but I'll just leave it at that. There we go, Vincenzo Silvestri picking up the final step of the podium in GTE. Tammy Alkley, Johan Haaf bring things down to P number 5. Jan Sinkowski, Arthur LeHook, Scott Brazier, Michele Ricci, and Tony Repuzard finish out the top 10 there Kevin Siggy, Barry Morrison, Jason Stenny bring things down to P number 13. Luigi Nespolino, let's not forget about him. And Sergio Macias, you got Christian Koch further down, P number 16. Tim Graven, P number 17, and that is the last of the leading 2-lap runners. You've got Antiola 2 laps down, and then you've got Jan Wischkowski 23 laps down. Unfortunate retirement for that driver. And then GT3s didn't provide us with a lot of action, but if you see Maximilian Veneg or Maximilian Benecke in a race for PRT, you know that 99% of the time they're going to win the event. He wins by 26.9 seconds over Michael Evdoka. Jorge Valls, you got Wim Stockman's there, P number 4. Yannick Danish, P number 5. Bimeli, P number 6. P number 7 goes to Bartolai. P number 8, Waldemar Binder. You've got Tassio Vaquez and Paul Morgan rounding out your top 10. And then your final 2 positions in GT3, James McRitchie and Carlos Oliveira Pascual. We won't actually have a break here on RaceSport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We're going to jump straight in then to the driver interviews, and why not? Let's get the race winner in prototypes. That is going to be Eric Andre with Paul Smith.
Yeah, so joined by your race winner then, and Eric, what a race it was as well. Full of drama for yourself. Just talk us through the start of that race, because we saw yourself dropping back down and having to work your way through the field.
Wait, well, I guess I'm not used to being pole. I'm quite well known for bottling my quali lap, so yeah, it was quite a surprise to be in pole. I think I was a bit hyped by the situation, so I tried to attack and obviously did a stupid mistake at lap 1. Luckily, I managed to climb my way back to win that race, but that was a very, very intense battle with Fraser. Absolutely.
I mean, we saw how it went back and forth between the two of you. Fraser making moves. He made a mistake down at Aqua Minerale. You then swap positions again. Just talk us through that, because these prototypes are not the best at following each other with the aerodynamics, but still able to have such a close race. It must make it even more rewarding to win this one.
Yeah, that's true. Like, this car is really awesome because, like, as you said, you don't have a lot of grip. Like, the main grip you have is the mechanical grip, and you are using the downforce to maybe rotate the car, but that's all. So you really need to compose yourself. Like at the throttle, you need to be very efficient. And that was quite one of probably the best battle I had in my iRacing career so far. And like, shout out to Fraser, because like we were both on the limit and sometimes over the limit, but we didn't crash into each other. So I think we should give Fraser some respect for that.
Absolutely.
Because he raced really well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was brilliant watching you two. I think Connor has nearly lost his voice from calling the end of that one. But just finally then, and Eric, we're into week 2 of the IMSA series. How much of this are you going to participate in this season?
Well, I think so far it's great. I mean, I did second last race, so it's kind of good results, but like as you see, I'm still doing rookie mistakes that shouldn't really happen at that level of competition. I was lucky that today I had the pace to win, and I was maybe faster than all the people present. But on the next track, you never know, that maybe won't happen, so I really need to focus myself and do 0 mistakes. That will be my target for the next race.
Well, before we let you go then, anyone you want to thank whilst you're here in the broadcast booth?
Well, obviously my team, Race Scratch, Johan, who did a good job in GT, also Klim, our sponsors, and Gamebox Image.
Well, thank you very much, and Eric, and congratulations on the victory today.
Thanks.
So back to you, Connery. I believe you're going to have Fraser Williamson from P number 2.
Yeah, I do have the young Scotsman in the commentary booth here, and Fraser, what a topsy-turvy race that could have gone either way between yourself and an Eric Andre, and also earlier on in the event, Cyandro was in play as well. So how did that feel behind the wheel? Because we were feeling absolutely ecstatic up here in the commentary booth with how much fighting was going on.
That was horrific. Just give me that Watkins race 12 times this season. I'll be happy, I'll leave you alone. But no, that was something I've never done in a prototype, which is have to battle somebody very close, and it was interesting, it was good fun, good to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And in those later laps, you did briefly hold the race lead, but you had a little bit of a moment that managed Eric Andre to get himself back through, and just take us through that moment. Was that just the pressure getting to you, and maybe a lapse of concentration, or was it something else?
What? There was two. Are we talking about the first or the second one?
Well, why not talk about both?
Why not talk about both? Of course. Why not? They're both at Clement Rally. I just first one out, broke myself, locked up. Just decided to go straight on instead of trying to take the sausages and dying. Second one, I overdid it in the exit. I think you get onto the green AstroTurf in the exit, the car spits right, then it'll snap left whilst you're trying to save it. So that happened, and I almost collected an Eric, but we both survived. I was never going to be able to overtake him in a straight line, so I'll take second place from it.
It's a well-deserved second place, even though it could have been a race win for you, Fraser. But is there anyone you want to thank before we get to some other drivers?
All the guys in TBR, James for turning up this week, it's it. Cinex Wolf enjoying himself, Baz, Scott, Ante, all in GT, all having mixed races. Pixel Dust for doing the paints, and Craig's setup shop for the setups.
Well, there we go then. That was Fraser Williamson finishing number 2 by a narrow margin. 0.262 seconds right in the dying moments. And, well, the next guy we'll get into the commentary booth is actually someone that I met at Sim Racing Expo. Gave a couple of interviews to him, but this time it's going to be Paul Smith. So take it away, Paul.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult interview because we didn't really see much of what happened in the GT3 field. Max, just talk us through the race, because you started out up front and then just seemed to just pull away from the rest of the field.
Yes, I think it wasn't the most exciting race, so maybe that's why you didn't also see a lot of the race. But I did pole position by quite a decent gap, and then just pulled it away. My start was good. I was lucky that the green flag dropped when I was right at the inside of the second to last corner. Had a good amount of a gap into the first corner, and by then just keeping focused and keeping the pace up, and I think that was everything that was needed today.
I think you're underselling yourself a little bit there. A pole by a decent gap. It was 0.8 of a second you were faster for pole position here today. But you obviously took part in the Virtual Racing School GTI Racing World Championship Series. Doing little sprint races like this, effectively compared to the World Championship, how different does your approach have to be, or do you have the same approach that you take into the race here?
Yeah, obviously I think you have way less practice than you do for the World Championship races, but at the same time, for endurance races, it's like the name says about endurance. You have to be consistent on your lap times. If there's one little small mistake in one of the laps in the stint, it's not that big of a deal. But in a sprint race, especially at the start, you have to be on point and build the gap that you need before the pit stop in order to let the guy behind you jump you in the pits. But that's basically everything you have, and it also feels quite nice to have some shorter races, because after the World Championship races, the sweat is mostly real after the races.
Well, I do want to touch on the events of last week, because I heard a little birdie here in the commentary box told me that you had a pretty good result last week.
Yeah, it was awesome. Also really cool to see all the guys from the other teams, also the guys from Race Sports, Connery, at each other, and also did an interview, as he already said. And it was a great experience, and finishing this event with the win in the GT500 was like the highlight for me, obviously. But at the same time, I feel like it's as good to say that the win for Max at Saturday's event, at the solo event, was maybe even better than the team event, and I felt really good for him, because he deserved it maybe he also deserved it last year. He also deserved it in 2016, and now he finally got it. So I think we can complain about the weekend in pure racing team terms.
Well, before we let you go then, is there anyone you want to thank from our Pure Racing team?
Yeah, of course, all my team members. Now I didn't have any mate to drive with in the cars, so thanks to our sponsors, Autohaus Wallmeier, Spuso, Asche Racing, and our Pure Driving School, and also shout out to my stream. I just live streamed the race, and thank you guys for watching my stream.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the rather lonely victory. Connery, take it away. I think we've got one more interview, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. We do have the one, the only Syandra from Wyvern Racing, as it says there. Sy, what an interesting race in the prototype field, because it is the smallest field by far that we had in that event, but there was no shortage of battles, of action in that particular field, and early on you were involved in those battles. So just take us through the start of your event and eventually building up to what happened, unfortunately, to you.
Well, I had a kind of poor qualifying. I half spun my first lap, so I put a banker in for my second, so I started somewhere in the third row. But after the events of I attacked really hard on the first lap, and I got into first with what happened to Fraser and Enric. But I didn't have the raw pace ahead of Fraser, I felt, because I knew that my setup didn't like the hot temperatures, and I could tell that Fraser was catching me a little by little every single corner. But what I did know was that I had a slight straight line speed advantage on Fraser. So unless he got a really good run, or unless I made a mistake out of the corner, there was no way he was going to get alongside me. So I took advantage of that and just absolutely nailed every single exit to the best of my ability to try and stay ahead of him and back him up into Enric. Sorry. He decided to pit early, and then I had an issue with the GT3, which put me down the order a little bit. But I'll take third place, honestly. This was not my track, not my weather.
Yeah, exactly. And you did touch on it. You said you had a little bit of a straight line speed advantage over Fraser Williamson. How do you set up a prototype, this Daytona prototype, for tracks like this one? Do you capitalize on the downforce through the sweepers, or do you try to trim out the car a little bit for that speed down the straights to be able to make those sorts of passes?
It absolutely depends on where you start, I feel, on the grid. If you're in the middle of the pack, you might as well run low downforce and try to get, or lower downforce and trying to get those spots on the start where everybody's still bunched up and you can have those good runs out of corners when people are getting held up by others. If you're starting towards the front and you can get a good jump, definitely go for downforce so you can pull away from the field as they're kind of scrapping between one another. And once you're far enough ahead of a low downforce setup, you can't really close the gap close enough to use that straight line speed. So it's only once you're ahead of somebody with low downforce that it actually is worth running it.
Yeah, exactly. And since we are running a little bit short on time here, is there anyone you want to thank, Si?
I'll thank my whole team, Wyvern Racing. Thanks Giuliano for spotting for me this race, letting me know what the times were and how I was doing and how crap I was being out of the corner. But that's about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all is fine. That was Syandra finishing final step of the podium in the prototype field, and Paul, just a brilliant event.
I absolutely loved that. That was absolutely fantastic to watch. And, Friday Prime Time, I was one of the first commentators on Friday Prime Time back when we did the Formula Renaults to start with. And every time we have Friday Prime Time, you just get incredible, unbelievable racing. It's absolutely brilliant. Everyone should set the DVRs or set a notification or anything like that. Press the bell, do all that jazz, because this racing just gets better and better each time.
Well, as one season starts, this Friday primetime gets itself off with its first couple of races in the books. We have another series, a massive series, that is starting to draw to a close. That is the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Only a couple of races to go in that one, and it's an all-Coanda affair. Martin Kroenke versus Mitchell de Jong for the championship win. Round 11 at the Nürburgring gets itself started 1:30 p.m. in GMT. try to work that out in whatever time zone that you're in. But that series has been absolutely brilliant for this season. It isn't a Martin Kroenke show at the front. We've had multiple race winners. Although Martin Kroenke is still in the running, this time he has competition.
Certainly does, but yeah, that is going to be all we've got time for today, Connery.
It is all we have time for. Thank you very much from myself, Connery Maddock. That has been Paul Smith on the color commentary and the cameras as well. I have no idea how people let him do it, but join us next week, exact same time, for more IMSA racing action. Goodbye.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.